cette voiture. Il va falloir évidemment.
Toyota numéro 7 est reparti donc après son arrêt normal.
Nighttime at Le Mans, and one of the shortest nights in any kind of racing. Daytona, of course, in February has one of the longest nights. Here it's, well, barely 6 hours. However, it's cold, dark and windy. This frankly feels like they've had to run the race in March for some bizarre political reason. Not that that ever happens here in France, of course. Again, we're reporting cars going off. It's funny, isn't it? As soon as you get out of the twilight, which you would think would be the hardest time for the drivers when they're driving into what little weak sunshine there has been, suddenly you see cars going off all over the place. Philip Pond tells us that different air takes on the Toyota do exist.
Yeah, 2012 and 2013 bodywork. Apparently I haven't seen the cars this year. It's the first time I've seen it, to be honest, I must admit. Somebody asked here, CJ asked us, why are the car lights still on during the day?
Because they have to be.
Because they have to be, and the main reason they have to be is so you can see who's coming up behind you, because at that speed it's difficult to see. So if it's the yellow lights behind you, it's a GT car. If it's the white lights, it's a prototype car. Who else here? Various other people.
Stephen Firth saying, I'm watching Le Mans for the first time. I'm amazed by the speed of the cars through the Porsche curves. I've been coming here for 30 years. I'm amazed by the speed of the Porsche curves. That never gets old. No. And the speed on the Mulsanne, that never gets old either.
And the overall speeds as well. I mean, yeah, the fastest lap here, the average speed was set at well over 150 miles an hour. So that's the average speed. That's for the prototype cars. Even for the GTE cars, the average lap speed is over 130 miles an hour. Average lap speed for a GT car. Ooh, pretty impressive.
Sparks flying. What was that? One of the mechanics have a fag on and not the end of it.
Hadn't earthed himself, obviously. So this is the factory Porsche lying second at the moment. Richard Leeds are just handing over to Mark Lieb, and that's still the Porsche sandwich in an Aston Martin loaf as they rejoin there. And this battle's just going to run and run. Peter Dunbrett leading the class from now Mark Lieb and from.
Oh, it's Porsche, Aston, the top four cars. The Ferraris are not getting a look in at the moment.
Of course, Rob Bell's just moved up to second during that pit stop, but that'll sort itself out next time round.
I'm here with the technical director for Toyota numbers 7 and 8. So far, the cars seem to be going quite well. Are you pleased with the progress so far?
At the moment, everything is running according to plan. Our pace is reasonably good in the night. We were slower during daytime, but now it's okay. So, yeah, so far so good.
Great, I'll let you get back to it. Thank you very much.
Short and sharp, that's our Liz Halliday in the pit lane. Yeah. I'm going to pay for that later on. I think I'm being G'd up to offend parts of the nation. People are suggesting not only how to say good night in Welsh, which I didn't want. I wanted to say good evening rather than go away, but also suggesting I give various regional shout-outs to various parts of the country. I think perhaps I'm being sent a bit of a pup there, so we'll ignore all
I'd avoid the northwest of England if I was you. You did give us a Lotus shout from Sunderland earlier on, which was...
A couple of people have asked us, what are the hybrid zones? I'm not sure we've talked about that, but the hybrid zones are where the hybrid cars, which is the Audis and the Toyotas, they're the only ones...
10 seconds in front of you is the second place Toyota, but he's a lap ahead. 20 seconds in front of you is race leader Christensen, 2 laps ahead.
Pretty straightforward there. Good information there for Luca Di Grassi at the wheel of car number 3. The hybrid zones, there's 2 teams running the hybrid systems, which is assisted technology, if you like, to have more horsepower to the wheels, and they're the hybrid systems regenerate power under braking, store that power, and then release it under acceleration. They're not allowed to use it on every corner, however. There's 7 braking zones on this track where the hybrid systems are allowed to regenerate the power or produce power that is stored on board the car for release later on. Only on 7 points here. It's at the
braking we've just gone through, the Dunlop curve.
Yeah, and then also the first chicane, the second chicane, Mulsanne corner, Indianapolis, the entrance to the Porsche curves, and also the entrance to the Ford chicane as well toward the end of the lap.
Listen, Jeremy, just getting back to the radio message for Lucas Di Grassi here in the number 3 car. The relevance of the gaps to the car in front is because this guy has got the afterburners on. His last lap was a 3:27. He's just gone round in a 3:30. The leaders, well, the second placed Toyota, the one that he's catching, is doing a 3:33. And that's only a lap in front of him, so he is closing and trying to unlap himself on the second place Toyota. And then, of course, Tom Christensen, the race leader in the Audi, is a lap ahead of the whole field, so he's then got to go by Christensen a second time in the next 15.5 hours, a bit less, to try and unlap himself and get back onto lead lap. But it's because of the speed of Di Grassi that he wants to know, who am I going to get to, who's really important, and how far up the road are they? That's the carrot that Howden Haynes was just dangling there for him on the end of that little radio string.
And picking up on your earlier thread, Martin, about the times coming down tonight, we've got Oliver Turvey in the 38 Zytex just done that car's best, and Ryan Briscoe in the HPD has just done his car's personal best. That's the 33 level 5 motorsports, certainly in the first sector. So these times starting to get quicker and quicker as the night gets cooler.
Yeah, the number 33 car, level 5 motorsports, Ryan Briscoe was charging in the early stages of this race. They've had, however, several delays in the pits. They've had some problems with the engine management system, effectively, and that has cost them quite a few laps. They're now on lap 116, so 5 laps behind the leaders, and about 12th or 13th, 14th place perhaps in P2.
Look at this phalanx of photographers, all because of this man. Patrick Dempsey's a massive star. I mean, those of you who have watched Grey's Anatomy will know him well. He's a massive, massive star here in France currently, because, of course, they're a decade behind everybody else. But, I mean, he's really drawing a huge crowd wherever he goes. Charming, charming man. Plenty of time for lots of media, and seems to be doing a very good job with the car. And he is desperately, desperately serious about this. This is not playing around. In the same way that Paul Newman came here and Steve McQueen came here, they were not doing it for kicks and laughs. They were doing it to try and win their race. And he is desperately in the same position as well. Pat Long's out of the car, and in a real scrum of photographers there trying to get out of the way. And Joe Foster as well, the third man in this crew. Well, there is Pat Long,
having vacated the car in the lead of GTE-AM. I think he will probably lose the lead now to Paolo Roberti in the second of the Proton Run cars.
Well, they're going for full service here. Only 2 people allowed to work on the car when fueling or tyre changing. The exception is a helper to help strap the driver in, because you cannot do your own belt tuck, because you can't get down to them, and you can't tip your head down to see them because the helmet and the hands device. And also, the helper is allowed to clean the windscreen of a car that has one, a closed coupe, a prototype, or a GT car, purely for safety grounds. Other than that, only 2 people involved. So full service, and unlike Formula 1, where the driver comes in, gets tyres, goes off, gets tyres, goes off, gets tyres, goes off, in GT racing and in sports car racing here at Le Mans and everywhere else, the driver runs until he runs out of fuel, and quite often even then he doesn't get new tyres. Quite often it'll be 2 tanks or 3 tanks. Most cars now, because of the strength of the tyre, will keep one tyre on, fresh tyre with the driver, and the tyres will not be changed until he steps out of the car, and then the new driver gets another set of new tyres, and off he goes. And that may be, in the case of Patrick Dempsey, another 2 hours and change from here. Now, 2 marker lights on the side of his car. They're orange, GT Am class. 2 marker lights means he's, yes, second in class. Car was in the lead when it came in. See 2 cars from the same AF Corsa team then just flying by. The green one is the 51, the blue stripes down the windscreen, that's the 71 car. Their team will know that as well. They will know exactly in which order they went by without having to look at the timing screen. That's important for holding out the pit board at the right time. You only get 1 chance every 4 minutes to inform your driver on the pit board of what's going on. Otherwise you have to telephone him on the radio and potentially ruin his concentration.
On board here with our race leader, Tom Christensen.
Good stuff, boys. And heavy on brakes. It's a little bit sort of low, a little bit vibration, a little bit low. Just tell me if the temperature is okay. Fans feel fine. Temperature fine. Temperature fine.
Howden Haynes is engineer on the radio. And again, there's quite often, and you don't hear it so much on the radio, on the TV, because they sort of pick little bits out. They don't just throw everything up because there's a lot of radio traffic. But if you've ever watched Truth in 24, and if you haven't, do yourself a favour after this broadcast, go and Google Truth in 24 and Truth in 24 2, 2 stunning inside Le Mans films of Audi races, and that gives you an awful lot of the radio chatter. There's a lot going on between the driver and the engineer. Of course, it's a long lap. It's 6.5 miles, 6.4 miles. So there's a long time between coming past the pits. And so you've got plenty, sorry, 8. You've got plenty of time on some of these straights to actually have a think and to have a conversation. I mean, yeah, they're going very quickly, but sometimes there's not a lot in the way.
No, and there's certainly some places you want to talk to the driver and some places you don't.
Just
a couple of very quick notes here. Callum asks, what are gentlemen drivers? Gentlemen drivers basically are amateur drivers, i.e. not professionals.
Not being paid to drive.
Not being paid to drive, indeed.
So I worked hard out there on the track. I didn't want to lose it in the pits, so I apologize if I got a little too rough with some people, but the car is really good.
Welcome back to Eurosport's coverage, 24 Hours of Le Mans. There is the number 71 AF Corsa Ferrari. Comes in for regular service. Tony Wielander takes the 71 car back out, and that is now in 6th in the GTE Pro class. In fact, Jimmy Bruni takes it over from Tony Wielander. There's the blue windscreen stripe down the side. That 71 car at one stage, in fact, I beg your pardon, Kamui Kobayashi. Right, so all three drivers have now been cycled through in the space of about 30 seconds on our timing screen. All right, we'll go with Kobayashi. That 71 car was the lead Ferrari at one stage, wasn't it? It was battling with the top three. I beg your pardon, for 4th place, when it was in that battle for 4th place. And now it seems to have dropped off the pace a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's running a couple of laps off the ultimate pace in GTE Pro. The class is still led by the number 99 car, Rob Bell at the wheel of that, followed by number 97, Darren Turner. There's about 20 seconds between those two cars on the road. Mark Lieb in the number 92 Porsche is about another 25 seconds or so farther behind, and then Timo Bernhardt running 4th in the second of the factory Porsche, car number 91. Next up will be Jimmy Bruni in car number 51, who is 1, possibly 2 laps behind the pace in GT. And the reason it's hard to say because where the scoring, how the scoring system shows up here. Quick shout out here to Kieran McAndrew. Do that after we'll have a go down the pit lane and hear from Patrick Long.
Patrick, you just did 3 stints and a fantastic job taking the 1st position. So now I think Patrick is 2nd, but how was it?
Yeah, the pit stops are offset, so we're sort of out of sequence with the 88 car, but we're glad there's 2 Porsches fighting up front. There's some strong Ferraris and an Aston out there as well, and there's a long way to go. The triple stint wasn't planned. We had a little bit of an issue with a valve stem, and so we had to come in and change that tire. We would have double stinted that first set of tires, but all in all, it ended up working out well because of the safety car. Really, the trick is there's been so many safety cars, it's where the safety car comes out. So you have to race like a sprint race to be in the front pack when the safety cars come out, to not lose 1.5 minutes by one of the safety cars sliding in between you. So it's going well. These guys have worked really hard. Patrick and Joe, you know, they've raised this money for the last 4 years. As you know, it's a great story, and this is a dream for them. It's a dream for me to join them, and we're just going to keep pushing and try to keep our minds on what the focus is, which is just to keep putting laps in and be smart.
Earlier on, Pat did a great lap with a great lap time, a great stint with a great lap time. You advise him not to be too pushy. What do you think is the trickiest part for him at night now?
The trickiest part is to put out everything out of his mind about the extracurricular media, what people think and say, just go out and drive. He can do it. We tested in Misano. There was no one on the track, and that guy can put in the laps. But, of course, he has a lot of people pulling at him all different directions. And so it's really about just keeping him focused and letting him do what he knows how to do.
So what is the plan for you now? You will have some rest, of course, but when will you be back in the car?
I haven't had a chance to discuss that yet. I'm ready to go back in. I just need to get some dry clothes on. Not really ready for any sleep right now, so I'll get a little bit of dinner and a massage and be ready to go back in.
Thank you.
Dinner and a massage. Regular service for the number 1 Audi. Jeremy, somebody was asking earlier, why is the number 47 car, that's the one they spotted, being fueled from the far side rather than the near side here? And that would be a legacy of not being built specifically for Le Mans, I would imagine, because a lot of circuits being clockwise, particularly if you're racing in American Le Mans series, you'd be fueled from the other side because that would be closer to the pit wall. I would have thought. I can't think of any other reason why you would design a fuel system to go on the far side. Thoughts? No.
No, certainly in IndyCar racing, certainly they have refueling systems on both sides of the cars for the left or right-handed circuits. So they will change that. It's a fairly major job to, well, it's not a major job, but it's a chore to change the fueling system from one side to the other, but it can be done. Sports cars, you've only got the driver on one side, and you know, it's there's a whole bunch of reasons of where the refueling system is placed. It really doesn't make that much difference in terms of how the fuel is fed or the time, because it's from a gantry across the top, and it's, you know, I mean, if it makes us even a second or so, I'd be surprised. I don't think it really does do that, because the fuel comes over and down through the... I'm getting tied up here, aren't I?
I know.
It doesn't make a heck of a lot of difference.
Doesn't make any difference, but it's just the way the cars have been designed. Whether they've been specifically designed for Le Mans, as clearly Audi's car has, because that's their main focus, or for racing elsewhere, as a lot of other cars will have. One other thing, Mark, asking on Twitter, Joe Evans saying, can anyone who has the right car, right money and right license take part in Le Mans? And the answer is, yeah.
Well, yeah, you have to have the right license. You have to have the correct license. So you've got to have done a certain amount of racing in certain categories to earn that FIA international license to race at Le Mans. But
yeah, this year you had 92 applications for 56 places at Le Mans. Well, 55 in effect, because...
cars? Entrance, I presume we're talking about licensing for drivers.
Talking about entries, cars. I mean, and you know, the ACA will only accept 55 of those, plus one for Garage 56. As it happened this year, the hydrogen project didn't come off, so Pro Sport were permitted to take that place. But that means, you know, almost 40 people, 40 teams were turned down, so you have got to have proved yourself for the ACO selection committee.
I think
you're invited to race at Le Mans.
I think the thinking was specifically drivers, and yes, absolutely. In fact, we talked about this earlier during the week when Adrian Newey came here a few years ago, the Red Bull designer, and said, you know, why Le Mans? Why have you come here? You've done historic racing and so on, but what's the big appeal? And he said, well, they're not going to let me race the Indy 500, they're not going to let me race the Monaco Grand Prix, but they're going to let me race here, so I'm damn well going to. And that's the whole point of it. Since time immemorial, in fact, the very first race, it was gentlemen motoring enthusiasts who brought their newfangled automobiles here to try and prove that they weren't all eccentric nutters. And whether or not they've been supported by factories, gentlemen drivers have been a very big part of sports car racing, and not just this race, and remain so to this day. And one of the troubles with single-seaters that we don't have in sports car racing is that drivers have to find a budget. In sports car racing, often drivers bring a budget that they have earned themselves or that is family money. And so it has a bedrock of wealthy participants who can help to keep the cars on the road.
Well, you had 41 rookies here this year, half of whom are gentlemen, so we can assume that answers your Twitter's question, that, you know, 20 of those drivers have never raced at Le Mans before. They are bronze drivers, that means they're the gentleman drivers, and they are here. The ACO hasn't invited them personally, but the car they're in has been invited, and that is your way of getting in.
The key is having the right license, having driven to an acceptable standard in other classes to get your FIA license up to International B or International A or whatever it is that the standard is that is required. So you can't just rock up with a checkbook and go, yeah, give us a go. Right. You've got to have proved that, in fact, you're not a dangerous liability.
We've got the only rookie in the LMP1 category is Luca Di Grassi, who has a massive amount of experience. Of course, that's why he was hired by Audi to drive one of its R18 e-tron Quattros, but he's the only one, as I say, in the top class that is a rookie.
And has already won for Audi at Sao Paulo at the end of last year. Talk about we've got the yellow.
Kazuki is catching him, I think, basically. There's only less than 3 seconds between the two Toyotas on track. Number 8 car with which we're on board here, Stefan Sarazin, is only about 2.5 seconds ahead of Kazuki Nakajima, who was rocking along behind there in car number 7.
Yeah, we've got the Krone Racing Ferrari, the green and black Ferrari as it is now, stopped between Arnage and Porsche curves at Marshall's Post 121. So just have to watch that for a moment, make sure it's not going to bring out a 5th safety car.
We go back down to the pit lane shortly and have a chat with Oliver Jarvis.
Oliver Jarvis, it's been a little bit of an exciting ride for you in your last stint. We saw that dramatic puncture. Just tell us what happened.
Yeah, a tough last stint. Car was going well, but unfortunately exiting karting corner, I passed an LMP2, and he obviously didn't know I was there, and he pulled out to overtake a GT and sideswiped me. and he damaged the right rear tyre. I didn't know it was flat, so I continued through the last 2 chicanes, kept it flat down the straight, and as I braked for turn 1, just lost the car. Unfortunately, it happened in the worst place possible because it's a long way back from there.
No, it definitely is. Is the car all right now? There's no other damage to the car?
No, we had to pull it in to repair the side panel, but apart from that, it seemed to be running well. But you know, we lost 2 laps, which is frustrating because we were right in there with a shout winning.
Well, it's still a long way to go, so we wish you lots of luck. Thank you.
Right, we've got safety car number 5 out for that Krone car that stopped. So note that down, Jeremy. 7 reds and 5 safety cars, and we haven't even got to midnight.
Yeah, that's a shame. Tracy Krone, unfortunately, has got the car stuck out at...
And there it is.
Indianapolis, is it?
Yeah, he's gone off again.
Who is that?
Who's on board that at the moment? Is it Tracy?
Well, he's facing the wrong way, isn't he? So that has looped around. That is Tracy Krone. 121 is the left-right, second and third corners.
In Porsche curves.
Yeah, right by, in fact, on the right-hand side of your picture is the Piste Alain Prost. A great kart circuit, as fellow Page and Moy Autosport travellers will remember. So just time to say hello to dodgy, dangerous Dave Ryan and all the others. So yeah, it looks from here, Mark, we can see most of the bits of that car. Do you think he's just
he's
lost the engine?
He's stuck in the gravel there. You can see he is, what little bit of gravel there is. That rear wheel's firmly in there.
I was thinking that was grass, but yeah, from your viewpoint, it does look much more gravelly.
Could be gravel, could be grass.
Who can tell? Oh, where's the remote? Telly's trying to turn itself off.
Take my leave here in a moment, but before I do that, I'm going to have a chance here to talk about. Shout out to Kira McAndrew, who's 11 years old. She wants to know how to race at Le Mans. Sorry, Kira, we've got to go to a commercial break. We'll try and get back to you later on. Thanks for the message.
Pit stop for the number 41. Ooh, Greaves Motorsport Zytek Nissan. What's going on with that left rear corner? Something loose. Modesty panel. And they were just checking to make sure, looking under the car. That looks like it was a regular pit stop for... who's in the 41? Oh, which page is that on now? Has that moved again? Oh, here it is. Tom Kimber-Smith now in that Caterham car. And there is the Krone Racing garage.
Well, the car's disappeared from where it was. So
it's been towed, hasn't it? Nick Johnson waiting for it to come back in. We are under safety car conditions, which gives us a chance just to get back to Kira McAndrew. 11 years old, already racing cars, wants to know how to get into endurance racing. Well, Kira, actually... First of all, go and have a look at safeisfast.com, the FIA website, which will give you a few ideas about driving and managing yourself and your career and how to handle yourself. I suggest contacting @Gearbox Girl. Now, that's Shay Adams. She's running pit road here for Radio Le Mans. Based in Florida, she's a former Gearbox kart racer. Her dad, Bill Adam, long-time sports car and endurance racer and broadcasting friend of mine. She might have some good ideas. Essentially, get as much much time as you can in go-karts, and then look at starting in something like radicals, a good cheap way of exploring two-seater sports car racing, downforce, speed, and if you like it, then the path will open up, especially for something like radicals, Mark Cole, because it sort of leads you into any number of different sports car classes.
Very good advice,
if you want to be Formula 1 world champion, go single-seaters. If you want to earn a living as a driver, ignore the potential of you being the 0.001% and go into sports car racing. I heartily suggest you follow your heart on that one.
And if you're a gamer, follow the example of Jan Mardenborough.
Indeed.
That's what the Nissan Academy is all all about. You know,
and if you're a Tom gamer, get yourself down here to Le Mans next year, Tom. Stop watching on the telly.
There is a lot of opportunity.
There's no advantage to us, no advantage to anyone else. It's all even. I'm just getting some info on pace.
So that's Kyle Wilson-Clark just giving advice to his #2 crew there. Tom Christensen on board that car at the moment, still leading the race, and he's got a one-lap lead. We've completed 135 laps just after midnight, and
yet another spin for the #70 Labra Corvette, I'm afraid, and again up at the Dunlop Bridge where the nose was ripped off it this morning.
And this is under a safety car.
This time Manuel Rodriguez, and I'm not entirely uncertain that he wasn't in the queue that just left the pit lane. Mind you, of course, he's been sat there for 10 minutes, so his tyres are probably mahogany. So there you go. 15 hours left. That means we've had some. Audi leads its sole healthy remaining car. Undelayed is a lap ahead of the Toyotas that chase.
And look at 16th place.
Yep. #1 car coming back up the order. LMP2 class leader is now 8th overall. Rodolfo Gonzalez ahead of Olivier Plan. Jan Mardenborough still doing a great job. 10th place for him. 3rd in the class. GTE Pro. Rob Bell's Aston ahead of Darren Turner's Aston, the car that started on pole in that class, and Mark Leap's Porsche. They're in a little group of their own, separated by the first of our, 5 safety cars. In the GTE AM class, there is your leader, the 88 Proton Felbermeyer Porsche. Although it's not called Proton Felbermeyer this time, it's the Proton competition car. Paolo Roberti up in that, ahead of Patrick Dempsey and Jean-Carl Vernet, with Lorenzo Carzé and Matt Griffin. Close battle. All those 5 lead cars on the same lap. Beg your pardon, Griffin's off the lead lap of that AM class. And behind them, cars, excuse me, I'm halfway through one of Mark Cole's legendary Kit Kats, and it's not allowing for good speech.
I think you meant the legendary Mark Cole Kit Kats. Yeah.
Behind them are the remaining cars that are running in the field. We've just seen the #28 car, that's the Gulf Racing Middle East car, return to the track and now back to the pit road. It has completed 21 laps, of which at least 2 were in laps and 2 were out laps, so not many racing laps at all. And we have had 3 cars, well, 2 cars officially withdrawn.
Good against car 3. Good job. Repeat, I was trying to talk to you. I just heard against Toyota. Please repeat. Safety car light still on. Copy, Tom. Yeah, pace is good against car 3, and pace is good against the 2 Toyotas. All okay, all okay. You're doing well.
Well, interesting, he has to ask his team on the pit wall how is my pace doing in the race. Martin, very interesting just to look at Marcel Fassler, who at the moment is some 12 laps down after the problems they had, having to change the flywheel sensor, wasn't it? They've had to change eventually. The next car he's going to pass is Natasha Gashnang. She's in the 3rd of the Morgans, running in P2 in 15th. And once he gets past Natasha, unlacks himself from her. Natasha, of course, cousin of Sebastian Buemi. So I wonder if she waves to Sebastian every time he goes past in the Toyota.
I want to ask her, because there is a bobsledder who is also called Gashnang, and whose biog says that she was born in the same village. Now, you know, you never like to assume too many of these things, but I wonder if she does have a sister who is a bobsled skeleton athlete. Anyway, that's for another day. Probably in a, well, I was going to say a colder day, but actually, do you know what? This is not far off winter weather here we've got this weekend. Yeah. Safety car lights will go off towards the end of this lap, and the safety car will come in. There's some very unusual returns to the pit road of safety cars.
At the end of this lap. Yes, copy that.
Good.
So Stefan Sarazan just replying there, and Stefan has got...
speaking for all of us and the whole audience.
Nakajima's right on his tail, 2 seconds behind him when they release the cars. They are 1 lap. There's 2 Toyotas, 1 lap behind Tom Christensen, but they are another lap ahead of Luca de Grassi and 2 laps ahead of the best of the Rebellions. Danny Watts now on board the HPD Straka, the Straka Honda, and he took it over from the gentleman driver in that car, who's Nick Leventis, and of course Nick not up to the pace of Danny and Johnny Kane, so dropping back a little bit in the order, back to 7th, but I think Danny will soon claw that back. He's 1 minute 51 behind Nico Prost, and then comes Ricardo Gonzalez in 8th place, best of the P2s, and it's still those 2 Morgans, 1-2 in that class, although Olivier Pla, who led it from the start, has dropped down to 2nd place behind his teammate, although they have both had the same number of pit stops, I think. Yep.
Somebody was asking about the hybrid system while we're on board with the Toyota. We talked about the 7 major braking areas, although the entry to the Porsche car is not a major braking area. Anyway, we'll move on past that. 7 designated braking zones where you can charge your system. I wanted to know, like Formula 1, is it then released by a button? Well, it's certainly manually released by the driver. Unlike Formula 1, in the Audi, because the drive goes to the front wheels, making it momentarily 4-wheel drive, they can't release it until they're doing over 120 kilometers an hour. In the Toyota, you can release it at any speed off a corner or out of an instance, a braking recharging instance, and basically for as long as the power lasts, you get about another 300 horsepower in the Toyota, making it roughly an 800 horsepower car for a few seconds. And from the Williams flybridge system in the Audi, they get what, 190, 200-ish horsepower, so that goes to the front wheels. Toyota drivers were saying, though, that their whole ethos with the hybrid is not to change the way the driver drives, and so it has been... safety car doesn't appear to be coming in very much this lap, does it?
No.
So it has been... They predominantly use it once they've got out of sort of 1st and 2nd gear off a corner, and when they're going quicker to then lunge by a car on which they are catching. So they don't use it bang right from the word go. They tend to use it at a slightly higher speed. So you imagine pretty much where the Audis are coming in anyway. Safety cars out. Q is going by the pit lane, so the pit road is closed. 3rd car in the LMP2 class, the number 42 Boost Motorsport car, is waiting to go.
And we've just had another spinner, Martin, the JMW Motorsport Dunlop Ferrari in the hands of Prince Abdulaziz Turki Al Faisal, who crashed that car, of course, on Wednesday. He's just had a spin at Dunlop. Lights out on the safety cars now. So...
Well, they're not, though.
Well, that's what we're being told by race control. They
have been ordered to go out, and they will go out of their designated spots. All the clanking and banging you can hear, by the way, is Liz Halliday coming in with beers. That's not going to help us to stay awake, is it?
Not for us, of course.
No, indeed. That's for
everybody else sitting around.
Our friend Sebastian, who's in from the pit lane for a while, because apparently it's got cold, and or the cameramen have gone for dinner.
A bit of both. It's very chilly, though.
It's a wonderful 64, which is the year the French Foreign Legion was formed.
Well, in which case, I'm afraid, if we're going to mention 1664, good evening, Wing Commander, and the rest of the crew. Hello to Squadron Leader Toad and the 1664 Squadron, a fabulous chopper bicycle display team that fans of Beer Mountain and many others will remember.
But even better, I saw International Rescue, 6 of them in their Tracy family suits.
Excellent.
And they were knocking back beers too, which is something you never got on Thunderbirds on television.
Well, that's because they're off duty. So we are waiting for the safety cars to pull in. As I said, we've had some very ambitious lunges for the pit lane, because obviously the safety car driver isn't aware that the teams have got televisions, radios and communication, and want to catch everybody by surprise, and very nearly had off a Corvette that was heading down the pit road at the time. So I think perhaps we'll have a little bit more of a regulation safety car peel off now. We're getting to the sort of area at Arnage where a safety car will peel off. Out of Indianapolis. Let's stay with this Toyota. Oh, Olivier, stay with the Toyota. I don't want to see a man in a mask. I want to see the restart. Here we go. We're going green at the start-finish line. We could have gone green with the Toyota, but no, now we pick it up. Now he's on the KERS. I beg your pardon. Now he's on the hybrid button. But it works the same way as he blasts past these GT cars.
Now this is what's difficult in some of these restarts that we find halfway through the races. He's been restarted in the middle of a clump of GT cars all racing themselves. You can see another LMP car up there in front. It's just a huge mixture of speeds and cornering power. So it is very tricky, especially in the dark when everybody's getting a little bit tired. There you can see those lights flashing, trying really hard to make sure everyone can see him. The road just starts to narrow here a little bit. Very, very dark on this portion of the circuit. You can see the braking boards there, the blue lights, shows where to turn in.
Yeah, I just think Mike Rockenfeller 2 years ago.
Oh, God, I'd
Yes.
rather not. That was horrendous.
Yeah. So,
classic thing about how difficult it is to pass the other cars on the circuit and what can happen.
Well, it's worth pointing out those bright blue boards, because during the daylight, of course, there'll be marker boards, 200 metres, 100 metres, 50 metres to the corner. Can't see them at night, so they're highly reflective, just like normal road signs. And down into Indianapolis, they're not actually used by the drivers or to tell the drivers where they have to turn. Drivers can generally work that out for themselves at this level. And down into Arnage. And again, markers on the side of the track. And why are there so many markers down here? Because this is a public highway and it's to stop members of the general public driving off into the trees rather than our highly trained racing drivers who tend to avoid that mostly.
And I really hope we're going to get to see this on board. Oh, I was going to say, to watch him come through the Porsche curves without anybody there would have been fantastic.
Here we go. We'll take this
brilliant.
audio
Absolutely
only.
Flat through the left there. We're going to go to a commercial break, but stick with this as long as you can.
Lover. Apparently, Liz Halliday, you sound like you're from Cornwall.
What?
Just like that famous Cornish racer, Dindo Capello.
I'm sorry. That's a new one for me. I've had nearly everywhere else, but I've never had that.
Cornwall? No, California.
Ahead of you, very clear ahead of you.
Well, now, you might wonder why drivers needs a head up to find out what's directly in front of him. Can you recognise what it is from those two red lights, boys and girls? No, nor can he.
Yeah, no, it is very helpful for them to know if it's a very, very slow car that they're approaching sometimes.
Now, people think this is what our commentary booth looks like. If you follow @Martin Haven, my Twitter line, you'll see that our commentary booth looks anything like this. This is race control. Daniel Poissonneau there. And in the centre, in the white shirt with the goatee beard, is our race director with the head of the FIA, the Monsieur le Président Jean Todt, looking over his shoulder. So Eduardo Freitas will very definitely be keeping the safety cars under control for a moment or two. That's race control. They have all the CCTV cameras, the permanent cameras around the track here, and all the TV camera feeds on which to base their judgments. And they will use all of that information, whatever they're getting from the corner workers, whatever they're getting from reports on the track as well, and their own experience to try and decide how to keep this race running safely. And they will be there in those chairs from start to finish. There will be no rest for our race directors.
I'm going to give a little shout out to James Bulkeley. Did I say that right?
Probably not. Is he from Cornwall?
Lying in Walton Hospital in Liverpool.
Yeah.
Watching on your laptop. Well, hi there, and I'm sorry that you're in hospital. I hope you're having a lovely time.
I hope you're getting better. Marcel Fassler still working his way back up the order. Of course, now every position is going to be harder and harder to get. Has he just gone by Natasha Gatchnang? Was that the 40 car?
No, he's still 3 minutes 24 behind her, but she will be the next car that he will take full position. She's in 15th place, he's 16th.
Well, he's lapping 3:29s, she's lapping 3:58, so he's doing 30 seconds a lap more than her, basically. So it'll take him at that rate of closing 4 or 5 laps, 6 laps,
Exactly right.
But then, of course, cars will go in and out of the pits at various different times, so he will get a couple of gimmies as cars in front of him go into the pits. Oh, I wonder what the big red bat phone's for. Is that line to the Kremlin? That is probably the emergency phone from a marshal's posts if they need to ring the big bosses to find out what's going on. 73 wasn't our lead Corvette. 74 was our lead Corvette. They were running nose to tail, 28th to 29th. Jan Magnussen's dropped a couple of spots to Kamui Kobayashi's Ferrari and the Aston Martin of Bill Oberlin. Words I never thought I would hear myself say in the same sentence. BMW. Oh, yeah. Aston Martin and Bill Oberlin. Sounds good.
Yeah, it does work.
He's just on loan for the weekend. Make no mistake. He'll be back to BMW next time we see him. Same with Oliver Turvey. Oliver Turvey on loan from McLaren. And that guy, Oliver, still running a solid third in P2 in the Zytek. Having a really, really good race. Only cars ahead of him, the 2 Morgans, Gonzalez and Pla, who've been swapping places.
And, of course, that Jota car with Turvey on board. And Simon Dolan won the extraordinarily wet 3-hour ELMS race at Silverstone earlier, first race of the European Le Mans series, so they already went to bat and came up with a big result. And Turvey, I was watching him in the drivers' parade yesterday, and he probably won't thank me for this, but genuinely giggling like a schoolboy, having so much fun.
How can you not in the parade for Le Mans? It's fantastic.
But you know, when you come from sort of racing in single-seaters, Formula 3 or DTM, maybe you get the sort of mass fans that you do here at Le Mans occasionally, but there's not many other categories of racing you come from, I guess, unless you're an IndyCar driver at the Indy 500, where there is just this massive crowd participation in everything.
But the fans are different, I think. Le Mans fans are a different sort of fan than you would find at a DTM race or at an IndyCar race, because it's 24 hours, and it's the biggest 24-hour race in the world. This is the biggest sports car race in the entire world.
And they come for a whole week, and boy, do you know it.
Oh, yes. And they've usually spent the last 3 days before the parade getting ready by drinking a lot of beer. So it's very exciting.
We're on board the 73 Chevrolet Corvette. Antonio Garcia on his outlap after a pit stop. They're still a long way down the pro order. In fact, the pro sandwich we had, the Aston Martin, the Porsche sandwich with the 2 Aston Martins, got a bit lopsided because the 2 Aston Martins are now 1 and 2. Rob Bell from Darren Turner and Mark Lieb and Timo Bernhardt in the 2 factory Porsches are now 3rd and 4th in that category.
Well, that sort of second-third battle has really flip-flopped with pit stops, and they're not on the same strategy with all the different safety cars and yada yada yada.
Well, all 4 cars have made 8 stops now. So,
but some of them are sort of 4, 5, 6 laps apart, and so as a result, one will jump into the lead as one stops, and it'll flip-flop back.
And Liz, what we've seen is the Porsches are eating tyres up more quickly than the Astons, being rear engine.
Yeah, and I think that does make sense in just the design of the cars, and I think from what they were saying earlier, that's one of their downfalls. Also, what's interesting though is I expected it to be more of a Ferrari and Aston battle. I didn't expect it to be Aston, Porsche maybe as much. And not to say that I didn't feel they were capable, because the drivers are phenomenal in those Porsches, but I think we just didn't really know. We weren't sure, and I think they were maybe a little worried. They were driving the 2013 cars. They've not had a lot of time in those cars, and certainly not a lot of time in the dry. But what we're seeing now is they really are quite fast, and they were saying when I interviewed Mark Lieb earlier that in a straight line they actually have an advantage over the Astons, which is surprising.
I don't know from is it from
Some vibration he's talking about.
I thought we might get an answer from Lena Gage, but I think that was a sort of rhetorical radio report. I am getting some vibration. Didn't necessarily
front, I think
require. speaking through a fish tank probably wasn't helpful. That was our race leader, Tom Christensen, the familiar voice of the Danish 8-time winner.
Another hero here in the pits, Yves Courage, visiting all his friends at Toyota at the moment. Of course, Hugh de Schoonhout runs that team, even Hugh been pals for many, many years. And Yves Courage, all those wonderful Cougars and then Courages, he built and raced at Le Mans over the year, a real Le Mans hero.
Nice to see him here. I raced a Courage in 2007, which was really cool, and Yves Courage was there, and fantastic to you know, get to know him. And actually he asked me to do the start, which was pretty cool, so it was really fun being a part of that team.
No wonder you like him.
No, he was lovely. He was very nice.
Can we just return to the pro thread, because Ferrari led from the start really last year, didn't they? And look at them at the moment, running there in 5th, and how many laps down is Jimmy Brunner? He's I think 1 lap down, 2 laps down maybe on Rob Bell now.
And the other thing is, in 6th position now is Tommy Milner in the lead Chevy Corvette. And who thought they would be behind or between the top 2 Ferraris? Certainly not them, and pretty definitely not Ferrari either. So Ferrari are really underperforming. The team that dominated this race from the front all the way through last year. How quickly 12 months can change the balance of power.
But what have we not had much of in all of practice and qualifying? Consistency in the dry. We've not had any of that. And now that the wet conditions have gone away, the mixed conditions have gone, we've got dry running in cool conditions, which we've not had all week, and suddenly Ferrari's not quite as powerful as we thought they would be.
Well. Listen, I had a quick question, and we'll see it a lot during the pit stops. Somebody asked, Rory Burnside wants to know, who are the people scanning barcodes in the pit lane? What are they doing? Well, the answer is tyres. Pretty much they all look the same, right? They're black. Okay, they might have some grooves on, but wet weather tyres, both sets of wet weather tyres have grooves on, and all 4 different types of slick tyres that both the manufacturers produce, or 4 for Michelin, 3 for Dunlop, they're round and black. So you have a barcode on to tell the manufacturer and to tell the engineer, and so he can tell the team what the tyre is and what compound it is, because they work at different temperatures. For instance, now in the cool of the night, or on a damp track earlier on, as we heard from our Michelin man earlier on, you'll use a much softer rubber that will survive at the lower track temperature because it won't overheat. In the heat of the day, you'll have to use a harder rubber because it can then withstand the G-force loadings much more substantially. So the barcode very simply tells you exactly what the tyre is. And for somebody like Michelin or Dunlop and all the other tyre manufacturers who are often here but just don't happen to be this year, it also tells you when it was made and when you have to use it by, because tyres, like everything else on a racing car, have a finite life, and if they extend their shelf life, I believe it's usually around 6 months. Any beyond that, the rubber compound starts to change and go off, and it's what it was designed to do, its performance changes, and therefore it's not usable, so it will end up going back to the scrap heap.
Number 2 Audi here coming into the pit lane. We saw the team getting ready for them to have what we hope is a routine pit stop. We'll see. Tom Christensen has been behind the wheel for an extremely long time. I think they were trying to do 5 stints, which would just about be within the limited time, or the amount of time a driver is allowed to be in a car, which is still 4 hours, unless that's changed.
4 hours.
It's always been 4
hours and only 6.
Yeah. So I'm guessing they're going for, if they can fit just barely a 5 stinter in on these tyres, they would be going for
well picked up, Liz, because Nicholas Gruber from Michelin said he hoped they might go for 5 stints during the night on tyres. But there's not much advantage if the driver can't quite make 5 stints in 4 hours. Then if you can have a driver change, you're not losing any time by changing tyres, are you?
Well, I have a feeling if they were bang on 45 minutes per stint, then it would just about work. But they're going to have it literally timed to the second, because any second over that, they can't risk it. They can't risk being checked out for that.
So, Tom Christensen, race leader, just coming in for a splash and dash, no more than that. No tyre change, no driver change, no service, just maybe a quick windscreen clean. Returns to the track ahead of Toyota's Stefan Sarazan, Toyota's Kenjo Nakajima, of course, son of Satoru Nakajima, great Japanese Formula 1 driver of the 80s. Luca Di Grassi in 4th, and Andrea Bellicci, Nico Prost in the 2 Rebellion Lola Coupe. Toyotas again, remember Toyotas, so we have Toyota 2nd, 3rd, 5th and 6th at the moment, and then Danny Watts playing catch-up in the HPD Stracker after his teammate Nick Leventis just cost him a little bit of time. The gentleman driver obviously slower, and then in 8th place, great performance still by Jack Nicolet's Morgan team in those Oak Morgans, and they are running a solid 8th and 9th, leading P2.
Well, listen, we talk a lot about the cars, but look at some of this. This is in the paddock. This is the media centre for Audi, or the media hospitality centre, one of their tiny hospitality units. They've got some massive, massive ones, all the manufacturers have here at the circuit, because, of course, as well as being a great motor race, it's a great opportunity to bring guests and customers to a fantastic event and really wine and dine them and make them feel very good about themselves. There was with some SRT guys last night, including a whole bunch of Viper owners from America, including one family who have 63 Vipers.
Wow.
I know. I
said, I
don't believe there's 63 Vipers in the whole of the UK. I
didn't know there were 63. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, there are. They have plenty.
You got to really love Vipers for that.
Their local Viper dealer took them on a guided tour of Jay Leno's garage, and the boss of SRT was going, "Are you mad? They'll find out that other cars are available."
That's fantastic.
At this point,
stop and go penalty being issued to the number 93 car, and that is the SRT Viper.
Oh no, just as we talk about them.
The rookie, for breaching the pit exit light, i.e. he shot the red light at the end of the pit lane. And that's a real shame for them. They were hoping to have a clean race, no penalties. It doesn't mean they're excluded. It just means he'll have to come back in, stop and go, but it will drop them a little further back down the order. There are the SRT guys, and there's your barcode. There's your tyre engineer reading what it says about the tyre. So all of the data in their data banks goes in, correlated to the use of the tyre, the manufacture of the tyre, what they expected from it, and what it actually produced. And of course, all that goes back in to developing the new tyres for next year, because as we heard, narrower tyres for the prototypes next year, same load, probably the same speed. Poor little tyre has to do even more work than before. Well, here are our SRT crewmen, funky helmets.
Yeah, those are pretty cool.
Yeah,
Looks like they're going motorbike racing.
Yeah, they do well. But they've got these little V-shaped front down there to show their goatee beards off nicely.
Obviously members of the Alexander Wirtz fan club.
And on that note, harsh. On behalf of Mr. Mark Cole, I would like to issue an apology to the Royal Marines, who were founded in 1664 along with the Kronenberg Brewery. The French Foreign Legion, the arrivistes, didn't arrive until 1831. Live from Eurosport with more facts than you can wave a stick at, some of which may actually be verifiable later.
Well, I blame this all on Carlton. I mean, Carlton and Kirby told me that. I believe everything he says. I always have done.
I imagine that was while drinking. That doesn't seem like a great grounds for factual knowledge
It was while drinking left, so I mean...
Oh, dear.
Yep.
Are the pit cameramen trained wrestlers? Yeah, it is a bit arms and elbows, especially when you're around Dr. Gorgeous Patrick Dempsey. Ed Goddard says this race is so good I don't want it to end. Don't worry, you'll be praying for it to end eventually.
No, we probably will be after we've been on air for a million hours.
Well, if we have many more safety cars, we'll all be taking ourselves out to be shot.
Greg Smith saying that he loves our enthusiasm. Could we please not speak over the in-car radio?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
The problem
in
is...
fact, we don't know. We don't get any warning. They just